Don't mind me, I'm eating Ben & Jerry's, which is woke now.
Eating woke ice. That's well, you know when rappers want to like brag about how good their life is, it's like eating woke ice cream. My ice cream real woke. Oh, you eating that problematic ice cream. You don't have
Häagen-Dazs.
Yeah, you don't have the money.
It's like the weird ice cream war shit that like Häagen-Dazs doubled down on being like, we support the Israeli settlements.
It's you know what they say, the whole you can understand the whole world through just ice cream.
Yeah. Häagen-Dazs is a fake European language.
Do you think they hired like you however many years ago to like create a fake language for them? We need a language nerd consultant.
We got the guy who like fleshed out Dothraki for Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
We need like a vaguely Germanic European language to sell our ice cream.
That kind of includes everybody. Everyone can squint and be like, oh, that could be. It's kind of like my language.
I guess it was just some weird thing in the United States when they made Häagen-Dazs that people just thought like, oh yeah, Northern Europeans, or like Northern or Central Europeans know how to make ice cream.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's got like an umlaut that doesn't make any sense. It's got like an S and Z at the end, which looks vaguely Hungarian. Yeah. 2 Jewish New Yorkers started it. Brothers, I think. Which just seems to be a thing you do with your brother. Just start an ice cream brand. Start
an ice cream company. It was actually a reverse Facebook situation where an Irish linguist was trying to take over control after coming up with such a creative fake language, but the twins won out.
Goddamn twins! You ever think about doing that with one of your brothers?
starting a company,
starting an ice cream company specifically.
I'll bring it up next time when I see them when I'm home. Why not?
It just seems like the thing brothers do. I don't have any brothers.
You are missing out. You have so many business ideas.
All of them
just popping.
Like what is the initiation of like starting an ice cream brand with your brothers? Like, no, dude, check it. But this ice cream will be really good.
Well, we would go to the ice cream truck together. So, the ice cream truck, you hear the noise from far away. You go screaming out there. Maybe you get you get $1 from your parents. And then, you and your brother are the ones who actually run out to the truck. So maybe it's in that moment, that kind of that bonding experience where where the seeds for a worldwide ice cream empire are planted.
Yeah, the lesser third brother is like, when I'm old and have money, I'm going to buy all the ice cream. And you two are just sitting there like, nah, that's fool shit. That's pussy shit. I'm going to buy all the ice cream trucks. Fuck the G-Ride. I want the machines that are making them. Hey, this is your weekly corner Späti, and with me, it's Kieran, and with me, I've got Rob.
Yo.
And no one else, they're all dead. No, they're not, they're fine. We'll see them soon.
They're in a secure location.
This week, we're talking about something that's a bit long overdue. For anyone who's been paying attention to the electoral calendar of Europe, probably knows that this event came and went. We didn't pass remark on it. Then it came and went again. And we didn't pass remark on it. What are we talking about this week, Rob?
We are talking about the elections in Bulgaria. I think we try to talk about every country equally. That's the European pledge. Equal time for every single country in Europe. But I think we've had a little bit of a soft spot for Bulgaria. The skull is one of our, a fan favorite character.
Yeah.
And It was just over a year ago when we talked about the protests that kicked off in Bulgaria. There were protests in several different European countries, but Bulgaria certainly had pretty widespread ones. We broke down the political situation there a little bit. A lot has happened since then. So, today is just going to be catching up with what happened since 2020. There have been 2 elections. So, I mean, there were elections planned anyway in April 2021. So that was always kind of like a weird thing hanging over the protests because they were like, well, we'll get them in April. And they kind of got them. They kind of didn't. Maybe this is what capitalism's all about. Everyone is protesting corruption, but then they're just gonna, take over the Iron Throne of mafia deals and contracting out, getting to decide who runs the elevator company in Sofia. The wheel keeps turning. So. April 2021, there were elections. No government could be formed. July 2021, more elections. We just heard in the past week, probably no government's going to be formed, which means third round of elections coming up very soon. I'm sure everyone's pumped about that. There was a record low turnout.
42%.
In July. Even I saw 40 in another site. People estimate it could be even lower.
Oh, wait. 42% might have been April, actually. No, 11th of July.
April was high 40s, which was low itself. So people are pumped for everything that's going on.
I think people were fixating, a lot of commentators were fixating on, oh, look how low these elections are. What's going on? And they pointed out to all the low turnout, and they pointed all to this stuff that was oh, it's because of the pandemic. Oh, it's because of summer or whatever. And it's anyone with a longer view of history than 2 weeks was no, it's been consistently going down since the creation of the state.
That general trend. And I mean, which maybe a thesis for this episode is it could even be a good thing. I mean, it's never great when there's low turnout, but when all the options, the quote unquote normal course of business would be, throw out the one corrupt guy and get a new corrupt guy in there. And so maybe low turnout is kind of a sign of where, the people do want something else. We should break and try to do something different. But
it's a process that's been pretty much ever present in all capital E Eastern European countries, former Warsaw Pact, former Yugoslavia, that kind of, all those places got the political spirit in all these countries are just basically completely fucked to the point of just what's it going to fucking change? I think Bulgaria was on a little bit of delay because they're the only country that didn't have a reaction against the communist, the successor of the ruling Communist Party. The BSP is the successor to but I can't remember what the Communist Party of Bulgaria was called, but that, and they didn't kick them out basically immediately after. They seem to be quite happy with them for a while.
Yeah,
throughout the 90s.
We will get into all of that. 2 things I want to say up front. First, we're not going to talk about the skull that much. I know we were joking, the whole bit was, isn't this hilarious? The perfect thing will be the richest man in the country who is launching a political party from Dubai. It's going to just sweep in and ride that. Yeah, I will do the real anti-corruption.
Posters in exile.
Got basically zero traction as far as I can tell. And I mean, I don't know how much he tried. I know he bought ad space. He was doing a social media thing. But I guess
he did better in the July election than he did in April.
Oh, that sounds like footsteps to me. A new wave is coming to break this deadlock.
Below threshold, definitely.
The flip side is that we have to introduce a new character who we didn't mention at all. His name is in the notes, but I'm not sure if we mentioned him on the episode. Lumbering TV show host, former sketch comedian with the voice of an angel and the range of David Bowie.
Sure.
One Slavi Trifonov. But
we'll
get into.
I don't think we've ever had a reason to really introduce him before. But
so I look back at the episode from last July, and Borisov, the now former prime minister, but prime minister at the time, said he listed yes, my top enemies, like the people trying to take me down are Radev, the president who we talked about, Manolova, the woman who allied with the Socialist Party who ran unsuccessfully for the city for the mayorally. Ran unsuccessfully to be the mayor of Sofia, and Trifonov. He mentioned him too. So
okay,
hey,
he's there.
He had his finger on the pulse.
Sure, yeah. Boyko Borisov is. We'll get into him, I guess.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it now. So I want to do a quick recap of last time for people who don't remember. Borisov was the prime minister since 2009. There was a short interlude where he was forced out, also by popular protests in 2013. He's the head of the center-right party, basically the face, along with one other guy, of this center-right party, which formed in 2006, in the mid-2000s, as an anti-corruption party. So
they were modeled after the CDU, basically.
Yeah. They were created in a lab by the CDU. By the CSU EU, specifically.
Yeah, and the EU fucking loved them. But the flip side of that is it was really based on a cult personality around Boyko Borisov in a way that maybe the CSU leans into that a little bit. I think Soda is I don't know. Soda is just a good person for them that they've latched onto, but Gerb is built around Boyko Borisov, basically.
Part of that is he kind of has this. We talked about his alleged karate skills last time. If you remember that, but that is part of his image. He's I'm a badass. He used to work in security. He'll punch the mafia in the face. Is basically.
He was interior minister beforehand, before even Gerb was founded. So he kind of has this whole which interior minister for Bulgaria is dealing with mafia basically. So yeah, and then he was able to style himself as a political outsider when he ran Gerb, even though it tells all the time is I'm a political outsider, and they're not. He was previously interior minister for one of the Tsars, I believe, and a former Tsar of Bulgaria ran. As
Dude, I don't know if we talked about him at all last time. The just to go on a little off track, but in 2001, the literal boy czar of Bulgaria, who ruled under regency but allied with the Nazis, he was 6 at the time, had been in exile in Spain his whole life, comes back, founds a political party named after himself, National Movement Simeon, and then he's the prime minister for 8 years.
National Movement is not a great name. That seems like you've just combined National Socialist Party with the Social Movement Party of Italy.
Well, it's an important historical point. The reason I wanted to bring it up for us is because when we're tracing, how does anti-corruption become the core focus of politics? He also talked about rooting out corruption and introducing morality is this is the role of the state in a post-socialist country. The role of the state is to create a nice upright citizenry. We're not going to do backroom deals or all the shady stuff that the Communist Party did. And we've seen over the past 20 years how much that can just be, turned into. I mean, when it doesn't address, basically no party is actually getting at the root material causes. They're not even campaigning on higher wages or maybe reversing the privatization that's been the source of a lot of protests. It's just anti-corruption this. Morality that.
It seems like anti-corruption was initially relatively popular in Bulgaria because this is what absolutely, but with good reason. I think the farcical nature of anti-corruption now is that there's other issues that you could be dealing with and talking about that are probably more pressing or would have better impact on your life. This was the reason why the BSP was initially voted for when Bulgaria, when 1989 Bulgaria started to exist, because the whole reason they thought they were voting for the BSP in like the 90s apparently was due to the fact that they like liked the social welfare state of like communist Bulgaria, but didn't like what they referred to as the red bourgeoisie of the corrupt and elite kind of party member stuff. Right. And it turns out that the BSP actually got rid of one of those things and not the other. But like, whoops.
Yeah. Okay. So Borisov basically, I mean, there's a wave of anti-corruption popular sentiment that's also tied in with a bit of like politicized social movement. And Borisov, as the leading figure of Bulgaria for the past 10 plus years, becomes a target of leaked audio, leaked videos are released of him. This is also when the skull is running off and everyone's like leaking on each other. There was a drone video of Borisov sleeping next to a gun and a stack of €500 bills, if you remember.
Yes.
Yeah. So we got Borisov. Sorry. The other two names I want to bring up quickly, but we won't really talk about, but we talked about them last time, are this Delian Pivsky, a 41-year-old media mogul who owns 80% of the media in Bulgaria. He's a member of the Movement for Rights and Freedoms Party, economically liberal that has a lot of support from Turkish and Roma minorities in Bulgaria. Right. He has tons of mafia ties. And this party, the Movement for Rights and Freedoms, often gets to play the kingmaker between the GERB, the center-right party, and the center-left Socialist Party. And they seem pretty happy to be in that role, even if both these parties are like, we're against the mafia, and then like all these mafia figures from this party, and of course from other parties in other areas of Bulgarian society too, get to end up being the kingmakers. And oftentimes it's just, well, let me introduce the other guy quickly. So the other character is Ivan Getchev, a supervillain attorney general who just says evil things. He got the role as attorney general after Borisov overrode a veto against his appointment. He just prosecutes the enemies of Pivsky, Borisov, and anyone else, like the enemies of whoever's in the ruling clique at that time.
Nice.
Yeah. As one quote from one of the readings said, it's just a big debate over which particular oligarchs to prosecute.
Okay, yeah. So I understand the. So with this like context, I think it's also pretty easy to understand the anti-corruption sentiment.
Yeah, of course. We also mentioned Ruben Radev, the president. He's still around. We'll come back to him in a second.
He's popular.
Yes, the most popular politician in the country. And then what we didn't talk about then was what the protest part, like what the alternatives were. And that's basically, since the election came around, that's been broken down into three main protest party coalitions. Not that different from each other. There's kind of some idea that if those three were to capture 50%, then they could form a government amongst themselves, because they've said not only GERB, the center-right party, but also the Socialist Party and this Movement for Rights and Freedoms Party, like all of those quote-unquote big parties shouldn't be in the governing coalition. But
it's an establishment versus protest party.
Yeah. And the protests, there's a lot of similarities between them. They kind of are all saying the same things. They're not really talking about material politics. They're talking about, we're going to do judicial reform. That's a big thing, especially with this attorney general who seems to do whatever he wants. We did share this quote that he said, which is, quote, "One is not a bad person for doing bad things, but for enjoying them." Which is always a quote you want your attorney general, who there's mass protest against, to say.
Embroider that on a pillow, please.
Before we get into the three main coalitions, the most exciting one being, of course, led by the TV show host, lead singer of the Cuckoo Band, Slavi Trifonov. But I want to talk about the other two, too. Just very quickly, I want to offer some context. We've been talking about anti-corruption, and that this is something that goes back longer than just this past, just 2020. The boy czar, Simeon, he has all these fucking last names. Saxa Coburg Gotha.
Oh, jeez. Okay,
Yeah.
It's a little too Teutonic for my taste, but sure.
Yeah, well, it says he's the boy czar of Bulgaria, so he is fucking Bulgarian. Apparently, he was baptized with the water from the Jordan Sea. or the Jordan River, because the Jordan the that's just the Dead Sea, right? I believe it's
it's the Dead Sea. Yeah, the Jordan River. Yeah. But that's sure. Yeah, like fuck it. Rich people do all sorts of shit.
Yeah,
like
why not? And this is so it's been an on and off. Like anti-corruption has been a political football, while every party basically continues the process of selling off public assets. The socialists, other than like a period in the 90s when they were trying not to do that, basically now everyone's on board with this same mission. The second part I wanted to emphasize that's slowly dawning on me is just how much of like a media spectacle this all is. Like it sounds, I know it sounds super entertaining. We get a lot of laughs out of it. Everyone in Bulgaria does too. Like there's dramatic TV interviews. Like it does seem like Maury mixed with cops, mixed with like people just like, you know, cornering people on the street who like, it was just reported that you have ties to this mafia. What do you have to say about yourself? Like, a new video just leaked of you sitting with your favorite, you and your boys sitting around discussing who's going to own the street cleaner company.
Well, yeah, like it's a yeah, we're not here doing like, I don't know, Borat shit to Bulgaria. Like this, we're not like laughing at them as the other or whatever. This is something they seem to be very much aware of themselves.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, you got to laugh about it, right? So one of the scandals in particular I thought just was a good example is the quote 8 Dwarfs scandal, named after a downtown Sofia restaurant. Where the alleged
great name for a restaurant.
It sounds like, you know, even if the food's not good, there's got to be it's got to be a great time in there. Some crazy stuff's gonna happen.
Look, 991, Soviet Union falls. We get all the Disney films. I see this one, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and like that's bullshit. Bullshit. 8 dwarfs.
They should call it 9 dwarves when I'm eating there. So the scandal related to senior magistrates, all of whom with whom the American ambassador to the country was personally acquainted. The magistrates were accused of by the owner of an elevator company of extorting him to give up his shares in the company. These magistrates threatened him that they would leave his sick son without life-saving hemodialysis if he refused to sell off his shares in the company. These magistrates also discussed plans to steal 35 kilograms of gold from another businessman.
Sure, yeah, which he sleeps with, presumably.
Yeah. I mean, that would be one of the top. Like if I had a hit list, it'd be like, you know, Boris has got 35 kilograms of gold just sitting there. It's just run up on
under his pillow.
Yeah, just you know, you can't hide it that easily. We can carry it among us.
You really like. Also, the other thing of just like, when your son gets terminally ill, you really have to get out of the game. That's you can't be having that used against you.
You cannot be the owner of an elevator company.
Yeah, when you
with any kind of family vulnerability.
Yeah, give up. It's Sophia Town.
Okay, so just wanted to offer that context. Which maybe would explain why a very popular TV show host is now the number one or the head of the party with the most votes in the July 2021 election. So, just since to get from last summer to April of this year, Borisov holds out. He fired some people. Remember, like the U.S. Embassy came out in support of the protests. A bunch of EU, actually, like almost all of the, like even the party members of the center left and center right parties, but who are in the EU Parliament, I think, joined in with like denouncing the Borisov and supporting the protests. But he holds out. He doesn't resign. He doesn't fire Geshev, the Attorney General. Protests continue every single day from 2020 until April 2021 when there's a new government. Dwindled, but, you know, every day they are on some, like, Occupy stuff. They were like, day 2. I mean, they announced it's like, day 295. This is our last day.
That's longer than the Gilets Jaunes.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So,
All right, good on them.
In April 2021, that's when the elections happen. Very tight. Gerb loses a lot of seats. Borisov, even though he hadn't resigned, was at an all-time low approval rating, which kind of doesn't really help when you're going into an election. And no party could form a governing coalition out of it, which meant that the president, Radev, appointed a caretaker government, which apparently has been quite popular because they have just started doing parliamentary hearings and stuff on alleged corruption.
Which are all all those parliamentary hearings are also incredibly televised.
Oh, of course. It's you can't keep the people waiting.
That's apparently primetime viewing in the country and stuff. So reinforcing the whole spectacle thing.
I should just go through the results and then introduce the three coalitions in order.
Definitely, yeah. But it's we're putting out that the coalition that the president made that Rob talked about. This is one of the possibilities people are seriously considering now, is basically to maybe prevent a third election, or even after the third election, just basically formalizing that caretaker government because of how popular it is.
That's never the best option when a country's let's just an unelected government. Let's just stick with that. We want them to talk about us like Mario Draghi. I'm the feeling like Bulgarian Mario Draghi.
Mario Dragov.
Okay, so April 2021, 25% of the votes goes to Gerb and their alliance with SDS, which is the older anti-communist party that founded in 1989. They're down 20 seats, though. In third place is the Socialist Alliance, 14% of the vote, down 37 seats.
That's BSP. Right?
Well, that is also the key here, that they're not benefiting from the Gerb's fall, which is often what happened on and off of the past however many years.
No, they've been terrible. While in government, they pushed for a flat tax.
Oh yeah,
they
did.
Yeah, so they're fucking terrible.
Y'all ever seen a socialist party do this? Not your dad's socialist party.
Just tries to backflip on the spot and just slams his back into the ground. It's no. But I haven't seen a socialist party do that. It's there is a truth to be said about these three establishment parties all being shit and worthy of being rejected. That's not an actually terrible position to have in Bulgaria. It seems to be pretty well founded.
The third party being the Movement for Rights and Freedoms, 10% of the vote, actually up 4 seats. I think they lost those in July. So the three different coalitions we want to talk about. Coalition 1, Democratic Bulgaria. That includes the Greens. It includes the small Yes Bulgaria party, which we talked about in July because its leader, this Hristo Ivanov, did a media stunt where he landed a boat on this little stretch of beach in the Black Sea because it should be public property, but this oligarch from the Movement for Rights and Freedoms party, Ahmed Dogan, I think is his name, which had kind of just incorporated it into his mansion, and then used basically the Secret Service to as his private guards to beat them up and get them off the beach. So nice. as far as media stunts go, demonstrated the problem pretty clearly. Gotta say. It was in response to that, but also other things that I think Radev announced, the president, that there should be an investigation, and then those same Secret Service security guards raided his house.
Okay, yeah, sure.
So when I saw the Greens, I thought, okay, this might be the little more. This definitely seems to be the younger party, and I thought maybe a little bit more progressive. But they do really seem to only talk about judicial reform and anti-corruption, kind of the new face of EU integration, and same old process. The EU politics does seem to be something. I mean, it's not something we've really talked about yet. Gerb, the center right, is pretty pro-Europe. And the Socialist Party is often painted for their they want to increase ties with Russia. So Democratic Bulgaria definitely seems on the Europe side of this divide.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just seen as it's a sympathetic position. It's kind of the same as like Romania, which I think roughly like gets polled as like the most pro-European country in the Union, of just like Bulgaria kind of views the EU as something that's possibly lifting them up kind of thing, but like they are the poorest country in the Union, kind of thing. So like anywhere is up, I guess, or like nowhere to go but up, basically.
Another thing, so we both read, and we'll put in the description, this Sidecar piece by the writer Madla Nikolova. Very useful, as Sidecar is, nothing but bangers from Sidecar, pithy bangers to get you the news you need to know. She talked about this apolitical vocabulary that Ivanov and Democratic Bulgaria Coalition has been developing, talking about state capture, judicial reform, trying to transcend traditional political divisions. One through line in Bulgarian politics has been this like populist nationalist question. There have been far right parties that kind of entered parliament and left parliament, or like have been in and out of parliament. They're changing names.
Gerb usually relied on them for like support politically.
And it seems like Democratic Bulgaria is also tipping their toe in to be like, how about those, they talk about a corruption problem. It's all those, Turkish people.
Yeah, what's with the Macedonians? They're a type of dog, right?
I don't know how the Macedonians fit into the corruption question, but we will talk about the Macedonians. Our friend Trifonov, the singer, has some thoughts on the Macedonians.
Of course he does.
I should say.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Okay, go on.
Last thing about Democratic Bulgaria is, if based on the Greens label, they do seem to be like the younger middle class option, and that's also maybe more urban, and maybe the populist idea is to kind of break out of that mold. But, we'll see. They got 9% in the April election, up to 12.5% in July. So not bad.
Yeah, Democratic Bulgaria has like basically the lion's share of its seats came from the cities and like particularly Sofia. Yeah.
Coalition 2 is I think we just laughed at their name, or maybe I just did to myself, which is called Stand Up, Thugs Out, which again, got to do what it says on the tin. Led by Amaya Manilova. That's one of the people. She's the woman who ran for the mayor of Sofia. She is leading investigations into a lot of key figures, which has basically given her some clout because she's doing the whole. It seems like she's doing the whole thing on TV, and what I want to say about her is that she does seem to be the one talking about things like a living wage, and like actually like having a relatively left platform. Again, reading from the Sidecar interview here, or the Sidecar piece here. The weeks-long sessions presided over by Manilova made for highly entertaining primetime television featuring testimonies of shady businessmen who claim to have been extorted by government ministers. Jumping down. The party, Stand Up, is the only party of change whose platform raises social justice issues and attempts to confront the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Its membership includes former BSP activists and participants in the recent protests. Yet, Manilova is also trying to avoid the appearance of progressive politics, describing herself as neither left nor right.
Which is something I want to bring up because...
Yeah, please.
Do you know who else also describes themselves as neither left nor right? And as a part of this coalition...
No, who?
Volt.
Oh! God damn it. I was almost sure they'd be in with the Greens coalition. Damn, they're in the Stand Up?
They're in Stand Up, yeah. They're in ISMV.
I'm crumbling to the beach like at the end of Planet of the Apes. No! I thought this was an okay one to get behind. Critical support for Volt, folks. You heard it here.
Volt Bulgaria. Yeah, the gamut of ISMV, Stand Up Thugs Out. I think is actually now translated as Stand Up We Are Coming.
Oh, excuse me. Thank you for the correction.
Yeah, because it used to be... Okay, so the thing is, they used to be... Oh, wait, no. Yeah, okay. They changed the name recently. So in July 2021, they were called Stand Up Mafia Get Out, which could also be translated as Thugs Out, which is 4 words, which makes the acronym ISMV. They are now going by a new name called Stand Up BG, Bulgaria, I guess. We Are Coming, which makes the new acronym IBG-NI. Sure. But, like, they are way too big tent. They are, like, all over the place. They have, like, agrarian movements. They have Volt Bulgaria, Movement 21. They run the gamut of, like, left-wing to center-right kind of thing. But, yeah.
They're the smallest group, hovering between right around 5% both times.
They got 13 seats out of 240.
Yeah. And, but they're going to get the Volt bump. So keep an eye out for them.
Well, like
the
Volt
legions, when they make the Spirelli brigades and they invade from the Black Sea, they will be installing stand up as the government.
It's Spinelli. What's Spirelli again? Spirelli is something. Is that like one of the characters from Recess?
Probably like a pasta.
But like, yeah, the if anything to go by that like Dutch Volt leaked document that came out recently that asked like why aren't there any girls in our movement? Similarly, they're also asking why aren't they like doing well in Eastern Europe?
Yeah, why not? What's the problem, man? You should consult for them and help them out.
Just me yelling at them. This is some Vessi shit.
You would come in and do the Alec Baldwin speech at the beginning of Glengarry Glen Ross. Okay, that brings us to coalition number 3. Kind of did in reverse order because they are the ones who made a big splash on the scene.
Yeah,
it is called There Is Such a Nation.
Translation is weird. Yeah.
Apparently, their original idea or their original pitch was to be called "There Is Not Such a State," but that was rejected as a name.
There is such a people.
Yeah.
Sometimes translated as "There is such a nation." Ooh. Yeah. They wanted to do "There is no such state." But the application was turned down, causing him to change it to "There is such a people."
All right, anti-state.
I guess
we're getting some interesting experimentation over here in Bulgaria.
But the fact that it's translated as "people" and "nation" translating as one word makes me think it's like, it's like that kind of conception of people, like people group, like and people group like or Nation of Islam nation.
So, they got. In April, 17.5% of the vote, which made them number 2, the second biggest party. So they were the big winners, and they took that momentum into July when they got 23.78%, just slightly more than GERB, which fell to 23%. The Socialist Party fell even further, and as I alluded to before, Democratic Bulgaria also rose a bit from April to July. So they're in the driver's seat here. They kind of, I don't know if you can say fumbled the bag, but they weren't able to form any government. But basically, if they stuck, unless they went into coalition with one of the big 3 establishment parties or establishment coalitions, there was no way to get into government. Yeah. So the merry-go-round keeps going round.
Looking at their main policies here.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. So I don't know if we should... You want to start with the party or do you want to start with our boy Trifonov? Because, you don't get to 23.78% of the vote with nothing. And Slavi Trifonov is a something.
He is a something. I mean, I guess we can do, like... Slavi Trifonov is, like, more juicy. I think we can leave him to the end. Do you want to talk a little bit about the party without talking about Slavi?
Please. So... Everything I read about the party basically says we want to be the 5-star movement.
Yeah, well, they draw comparisons to 5-star movement. They also draw the comparisons to Vladimir Zelensky, the current president of Ukraine, is another one they kind of like try to compare themselves to. And his party was like a very strange, like libertarian guns and weed party. So, but also like mostly bolstered on the fact of like corruption. And but also a little bit about like dealing with Russia was also a huge part of the appeal of Zelensky's movement.
I'm jumping in with the Trifonov stuff, but it's just funny to say like that's what their party is, and then Trifonov compares himself to Beppe Grillo, Donald Trump, and his favorite politicians are Margaret Thatcher, Ronald Reagan, and Emmanuel Macron. Which just seems to be, I like people that seem powerful.
I remember the name of. Yeah, I remember the name of. Like, Beppe Grillo, like, despite all his flaws, was, like, definitely an anti-Thatcherite. Like, he's a product of, like, aggressive response to, like, what that kind of era of politics did to Italy. But whatever.
But Beppe Grillo, even beyond the ideology, does seem to be the closest comparison to Trifonov, because he's like, I'm the singer guy Canadian, who also does rap songs now and has had like a nightly show for the past 25 plus years.
Zelensky is also there as well, because Zelensky was like I don't think he was a comedian, but he was a comedic actor, kind of thing. So important
distinction, Kieran. Come on, he's unless he's doing stand-up sets, he can't be.
Yeah,
he's not working on his craft.
Stand-up president is like a different sort of monster to like comedic actor president, like
doing crowd work at the State of the Union.
Yeah, comedic actor president is like just a useless lib, but like a stand-up president is just like a far right shitposting monster. Like.
Well, the comedic actor knows like they're part of a machine where they're like, just let me know when to say my kooky line.
Yeah, exactly.
They do have like a god complex, which is like, I have these people in the palm of my hand.
There's an arrogance there. Yes, of course. But okay, some of the policies I find very interesting because it's just like, it's a mishmash of stuff that's kind of interesting. It kind of could be nice, but then also there's stuff that's like weird and I don't know why it's in here. But like 5-star movement is that's a good comparison. So number one, switch away from proportional representation to a constituency-based 2-round system and single transferable vote for EU and municipal council elections, which is like, that's a stupid combination of those two things. Just use single transferable vote, you fucking idiots. It's the best system in the world. I am Irish.
Why aren't they just doing that then, do you think? Is it too big a change or what?
So 2-round constituency based is so easy to fucking game. Like you can just look at what France does.
Right.
Like because then things like Macron being like, I'm the only bulwark against National Rally basically enshrines your power for a very, very long time, even though you have like zero social base. But we'll see how that works out in the long run.
Sounds useful to me. Keeping that in my back pocket.
You can game that very easily. And you couple that with, he wants to lower the National Assembly from 240 to 120. So just halving the number of politicians.
That's like a go-to anti-corruption idea, right, that a lot of people say.
Yeah, it's a stupid one, though, because it's just...
Dude, there's only half as many to have to worry about.
Yeah, but then there's also half as many to buy now. Like, smaller government just means government easier to control. But yeah, here's the absolutely great one that will definitely not lead to any corruption or any like fuckery at all. Allowing remote electronic voting in elections and implementing elements of e-government.
Ooh,
so you can vote electronically now. Never mind that you are next door neighbors to the most notorious hacking nation in the world.
We went from socialism with a human face, or what is it? Communism with a human face, to capitalism with like a Siri app telling you, "Hello, How would you like to participate today, citizen?
We went to capitalism with a Macedonian teenager face. Okay, compulsory voting, also fucking terrible. That's stupid. I hate compulsory voting.
Yeah, how are they? I mean, they got a lot of ground to catch up from 40%, but maybe, you know.
Yeah, but like compulsory voting, just like generally, like implementing that as a policy usually means like I don't have anything to offer you, but I will make you vote for someone.
Compulsory voting is when your grandma says, "Eat, why aren't you eating?"
Basically, like, have you seen what like compulsory voting has done to Brazil? Like, there's a country with compulsory voting.
Yeah, they have no problems, and Bulgaria, Bulgaria wants a little bit of that Brazilian swag. They got beaches, they got cool music.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, further integration with the EU, elements of democracy. They want to do more referendums, which sure, kind of fine, but like I don't know, when 80% of your media is controlled by one guy, that's maybe a problem. And then further support to social security for families. So yeah, let's just do some Orban shit. So it's like a weird mismatch. It's okay. So you say it's like 5-Star Movement, but 5-Star Movement had more of a platform than this.
Burn.
Like they did. They genuinely did. They had like ideas. They had more ideas.
It's also like not to get all free market, but like you don't have it. It seems like no party is like. It's like a stalemate where it's like a collusion that like, well, none of us are really going to get in details here with our platform. So like, what is the incentive to like get really detailed other than the fact that, you know, ideally like, oh, wow, this platform really, really speaks to me and I'm going to go vote for, because I'm part of a social movement, and, you know, I'm doing my part to participate. It seems like everyone's on board with, here's a little bit to like our flavor of tackling this endemic anti-corruption problem.
Yeah.
Or corruption problem. The white whale is anti-corruption.
Yeah, but that seems to be your the party in general. Like, there's very little on the bones of this party without talking about Slavi. So that's as much as I think we can talk about without getting into.
Well, no. Another important point is that Trifonov neither time ran or proposed himself for prime minister. So he's gotten someone else. He appointed the first person he appointed.
I did remember that. Yeah.
Was some like run of the mill corrupt guy, who had served under both, like in multiple previous governments. And the second guy was like someone like an unknown who was on his TV show once. And basically in both cases, people were like, "Nah, I don't trust this." But that's a little 5-star-y to be like, you know, almost like the power behind the throne. I don't know.
Yeah. The Casalegio family or whatever that ran like 5-star for a very, very long time. Yeah, the first guy they put forward, I'm trying to find his name now. Nikolai Vasilev. That was it. That guy was like, he was an
Nikolai,
investment.
I've not met you. I hope if you're actually a good, if you've never done anything corrupt, I'm sorry. You just you got the stink on you.
An investment banker who served in the former Tsar's cabinet. So he was,
I'm sure you've done nothing wrong ever. You're just we're all walking. We're all tempted by by sin, walking in the valley, the shadow of death, however that goes.
Yeah. Self-identifies as the country's top fiscal hawk.
Again, that's a lot of people say that. That can mean hawks are beautiful birds. He admires them for their grace.
They're so gorgeous. Proud Bulgarian hawks. Privatized state-owned telecommunications company, made about 20,000 people redundant overnight. ITN has forecast further public service redundancies in the coming years due to an obscure and poorly laid out digitalization agenda. This is this guy. He also wants to privatize the Bulgarian Development Bank. So yeah, Vasilev was the first guy he put forward, who just seems to be like monstrous.
Well, he was kicked out.
Yeah, because there was protests.
And then there's another guy who doesn't have a Wikipedia page.
Always a good sign. Just some dude I got. Yeah,
that didn't take either. And so on August 10th, 5 days ago, as of this recording, there is Such a People Party withdrew their proposed cabinet, and there are other cabinet members that also were like, oh, they were just part of this or part of that. And now it's probably going to go to another election.
Yeah.
There's a few articles. So like Politico, I said fumbled the bag earlier, but I don't know if they're like excited because they want their Volt/Greens parties to do better in the next round of elections. But they were like, "Oh, Trifonov, like you fucked up. Like welcome to politics. This is you're with the big boys now, and you're gonna like you can't just come in with the voice of Bulgarian Chris Cornell and just serenade everybody. You have to put in the dirty work of politics." That's the impression I got from some of the reporting, but it is kind of like a no-win situation because how do you do a protest movement, an electoral protest movement, where there's only 40% turnout, and like there seems to be floors on these other parties, like the Movement for Rights and Freedoms hasn't shifted from 10%, and how much lower right now the two center parties have 36 together, almost 37, and I mean. How low can that drop? I don't know.
Yeah, like these are we're talking about like the major parties. Yeah, we're talking about the major parties of Bulgaria. We're talking about like what we were describing before. Like these protest parties came about. This was like a 2.5 party system effectively in Bulgaria. You had BSP, you had GERB, and you had like MSP, the Movement for Social whatever. They as the like 0.5 party that basically got in there to be the kingmaker of one of these two other parties. So like these are the parties that have been well, in the case of the BSP, in charge since 1945. So like how like the floor of these parties are going to be like 10%, like maybe like 7% at least, and that's like together that's like a sizable chunk of the electorate, assuming all three of them get to their floor, which it's very unlikely that will happen at the same time.
Should we talk about Trifonov?
Yes.
Should we talk about his? Okay, so you're the music expert.
Am I?
We have this man's been making music since the early 90s.
94.
I got to take people's word for it that he's a beloved figure. I read that reminds them of the good old days, the good times of the early 90s. And just how what are the vibes of his music? I'll put it that way.
It's all over the place. Like before we started recording, there's a handy compilation on YouTube of like all his hits, his big hits from the years of 1994 to 2019.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. Like he has a signature bald look with an earring that he went to. Like the very first video or second one has him with hair. I think that's him. And then like the third, like later that year in 94, he's like, all right, I'm going balls.
Yeah, fuck this. Too many guys in Bulgaria have hair. I'm going to stand out. Brand. Yeah. But like the music, it's an interesting watch because the music basically seems to coincide with like all the big trends that were happening at the time. The man's producing like very safe stuff. And like stuff that would be very appealing to like almost everyone. He kind of leans into like maybe a bit more of a country respectable older musician. Like I want to be kind of a Johnny Cash figure towards the end, but like 1994 he's doing a kind of like acousticy kind of pop that's maybe a little bit like Spanish or Latin influenced. That reminded me a lot of that song like how bizarre da, 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 da. Like that was big around the same time. In 2002 he genuinely has like a kind of new metal song, and then 2003, like the following year, his next big single sounds like he's doing a duet from someone who was in All Saints, who's now gone on to like a solo career. Like it's which again was big in the UK, like 2003 in the UK. That was like your Sophie Ellis Bextor your kind of times of like female singer songwriter soloists. Big Dido age as well. The man seems to be making very safe stuff that I can imagine charted well amongst like people who don't necessarily think about music too much. Like, no, I don't mean that in a mean way, but people whose like music is not their like main focus or whatever. They're not nerds about it, but they're just like, yeah, this kind of slaps. I'm gonna get this. Sure, heard it on the car enough times.
It's been implied that the Bulgarian diaspora likes him. The band, the talk show is an easy way to like, stick with the culture. And apparently voted for. He won. His party won 45% of the vote in Germany, over 50% in the UK and Spain.
UK and Germany are the big ones for Bulgarian expats, as far as I understand. Yeah, I mean, my understanding of that, of like the nostalgia and stuff, is that.
But that could also just be younger people, or maybe there's more younger people. I don't know.
My understanding of the nostalgia for him is that he's reminiscent of the period in the 90s when things seemed optimistic. And that's probably going to resonate with the people who were forced to leave Bulgaria by like economic and political circumstances. That seems about right. But like his later...
yeah, go ahead.
Lastly, I just say his later stuff seems to have maybe like pulled into I'm an older, classier musician now. Because it does kind of seem like he's just like sitting down in front of the microphone and just like saying hard. Yeah, he's always sitting.
He did a rap song with a Bulgarian rapper, like a
that's
collab.
an Trisco. Yeah, that's an exception. Is it Trisco or Crisco?
Crisco.
Crisco. Yeah. So that's like an exception, I feel like. But the rest of his like more modern stuff is just like him with some like kind of maybe slightly country-ish guitar music. And what I'm assuming in Bulgarian, like spitting some hard truths about like the nature of existence and life into a microphone.
When you're really drunk, you sing with your buddies. It's in one of the music videos was in like an abandoned speakeasy, or like it's a cool bar, but the only people there are the bartender, kind of like looking on approvingly, and then the five older guys who are playing their instruments.
It's very like. It's very old. How do you describe it? It's very like old Metallica. It's like old Metallica when they do their kind of slower song. I feel like a little bit of just like somewhere between like old post Saint Anger Metallica doing a slow song crossed with maybe like Johnny Cash's Hurt.
I got you.
Yeah. But like definitely appeals to a kind of a conservative well, there's like there is like a nostalgic aspect to it, definitely amongst older people of like, man, like things are not the same as they used to be. Things were better, presumably, before, without really any substance to it.
We're facing a little bit of a language barrier, but his band is called the Cuckoo Band, and that was established in 1993. But in 1990, there was a TV show. It's called the Cuckoo Student Show. That was like a sketch comedy / performance / like political satire show. And like 1990 was like the young generation finally able to like speak out and like, skewer what's going on in Bulgaria. So not only was he like I think he was just a performer on the show, but then like they kind of like, and we're going to take the show on the road. We're that Cuckoo, but a band now. And, it's all part of the same package. And basically, since that Cuckoo show, he didn't host it. He was just on it. There have been like 5 or 6 different shows that he's hosted. I don't know. They just seem to be jumping around between different, like, reshuffling the, like, who's working on it or what channel it's on. But, he's been around since then.
Yeah, it sounds like a show that, like, in any other, like, country or political circumstance would have not been considered a political show. But by the nature of it starting so early after, like, the collapse of the Second World, it's just like, yeah, like you said, the young ones finally get to speak out. So not only, like, every so often, every, like, national broadcaster in every European country has to, like, finally release the pressure valve and give like young people a fucking show, because it's like such a like fucking cronyist system a lot of these like national channels operate in. And then they realize, well, no one really wants to watch the old people like comedy show, so they have to give some young people the comedy show. But like in the case of Bulgaria, it seems like that was also an inherently political decision of just like, oh, they were repressed before in communist Bulgaria, and now they get to speak out. But like, correct me if I'm wrong, but Trifonov doesn't like have any connections to like, he's not like Yansha. He doesn't have any connections to like any kind of social movements that happened before the collapse.
No, I think he's just a performer musician. Like that's his angle.
Yeah.
I mean, I think okay, so that's the thing. So maybe I'm missing something, but it seems like over time he was like, he got famous as a performer, and then he's like, I got some thoughts on politics.
Yeah.
Where like, if you're, I don't know, in your 30s or 40s, you're going to start like commenting, especially when you have a platform. And, there is kind of like political or like a news. I mean, if you're satirizing the news. Maybe a good example of this is, did you know he almost was the Bulgarian representative for Eurovision?
Uh-huh. I did not.
I know how to reach Kieran here.
I know how to press these buttons.
So, here's the story according to Wikipedia. In 2005, Trifonov was in the final for Eurovision, so like the Bulgarian tournament or however it works, to nominate who will be the representative for Eurovision in a duet with another singer. When they went up to perform their song, instead of performing the song, I believe, or they performed it, but before, Trifonov did a, quote, emotional speech that he's withdrawing from the competition because the voting had been rigged for 50,000 Bulgarian currency. I actually don't know the currency there. In order for a different group to win. That had already been done, and 60,000 votes had been sent in. And they ended up losing 76,000 votes to 48,000 votes to that other competing song.
Right.
So a big, that's takes a lot to speak out. There are a lot of
speak the truth.
60,000 Bulgarian units of currency on the line.
Lev, it's Lev. L-E-V, Lev. Bulgarian Lev. That's that kind of like coincides with what I think of this guy. He's like someone who wasn't political. He was like he was a performer. He was a musician. He was like kind of a comedian or whatever, and then like had this politicalness foisted upon him almost. If you understand me, like it kind of seems like the circumstances made him political rather than like. Well, this is why a lot of these like satirical sketch shows fucking suck ass. Like this is the same with like SNL in the States. Like the people who make up SNL, even though they're meant to comment on politics, are not political people. Like by any stretch of the imaginations, they're comedians, they're theater kids, they're stand-ups, they're performers, they're artists, whatever you want to call. But like in the most like what's the opposite of like really clean? What's really clean again? Sanitized. Like in a really sanitized sense, they've kind of like almost stayed away from politics until they finally like, I don't know, get pushed out of the nest a little bit on a huge platform where no one's really going to tell them they're wrong, or that like their way of thinking is shit. It's like when any celebrity gets into politics, we know this, like this kind of a phenomenon before where like the circumstances encourage them to like be political, and then it turns out their political takes are just kind of really terrible or uninformed. This kind of seems like what happened to this guy.
I have it on good information that there are often sexy ladies on his TV show.
Well,
like doing
of course,
dances and performing and playing songs. And stuff.
The communists wouldn't have allowed this. Bring out the sexy ladies. The students are going to make some jokes, and then we're going to look at some ladies.
Few other just rapid fire. 2003, he was sued because there was a TV presenter alleged that he poured a mug of beer in her face.
through or poured? Those are two different. It was like throwing a beer in someone's face. I can understand the mechanism of that, but
we might be
a
losing
beer.
something in translation here.
Sure, yeah.
He's often kind of been fined or sued for his comments of like for insulting different public officials or newspapers. And I think that's kind of given him his maverick cred a little bit too. Like, not afraid to tell it how it is.
That's what earned him the right to sit in a rap video.
Again, I've missed a lot. I'm sure there's so much we're missing, so much good content on his TV show because it's like a talk show. He's like Jimmy Fallon. He's Jan Böhmermann. Yeah.
Absolutely.
One sketch, I guess, caught my eye because it does look like it's supposed to be funny, which is just a video of Alexander the Great on his show, who just like stands up. He's like has like a Roman-looking, kind of outfit, and gets up and like says things, and then it's translated from his translator to Trifonov, who then asks questions through the translator. As far as I can glean from the comments, it seems to be making fun of the fact that Macedonia like claims that Alexander the Great's Macedonian, like how ridiculous it is. Other comments say, this is through Google Translate, watch the film by Ivan Georgiev from BTV and you will find out the truth about Macedonia. And other such discussions going on there.
The Macedonian question has arisen.
I cannot ascertain. If any listeners out there know Slavi Trifonov's position on the Macedonian question, please get in touch.
My understanding is it's not good. Like my understanding of like how the Macedonian question within Bulgaria is handled, which for anyone who doesn't know, like it's different from like Greece. Like Greece gets pissed off that they claim Alexander the Great. But like only like the weird right wing claims, like Vimro claims Alexander the Great. Most Macedonians don't really care. But Bulgaria has like a different thing with Macedonia, which is they basically don't think they're distinct people. They're like, no, these are just Bulgarians who have like been tricked by, I guess, Yugoslavia or something into thinking they're a different ethnicity and therefore should belong to Bulgaria. And Macedonian isn't a language. It's called Bulgarian. You're all speaking Bulgarian. It's like it's a very strange thing. But my understanding is in the current political landscape, there is basically no opposition to like being shitty to Bulgaria or to Macedonia. There's this like no party that's like, we should let them into NATO / we should let them into the EU. Everyone needs to calm the fuck down. There seems to be no party saying that because it seems to be easy points. Just dunk on the Macedonians.
That's about it. Anything else you want to add about Trifonov? He's having a good time. It seems like he likes. He has a little bit of a theatrical flourish,
Oh, absolutely.
Getting the art kid after this, after this like hard ass kind of Borisov. He wants to be like, what if a theater kid was in the mall?
Yeah, but he's also like he also tries to position himself as a little bit of as a tough kind of paternal figure. Yeah. A little
he's 6'6", by the way. He's 2 meters tall.
He's huge. He's a huge guy.
A big guy. Look at this big guy.
But like in the sense of just like
I want to see him use it though. I gotta say, I don't know. Like, there's some big like James Comey's the same way. He's like 6'7", so over 2 meters. And you gotta know how to use your body. I think it can quickly become a liability. So
that's why he sits down.
Perhaps run circles around him like the AT-AT at Battle of Hoth. You might be able to take him down. You got to test his agility.
But that's why he sits down, is to make other people feel less intimidated. He's actually quite kind. But no, like he has kind of like a tough. He's got like a tough aesthetic besides his like height or whatever, because that's like what we're talking about, like what his music has become. There's a little bit of a gruff, a grittiness about like that kind of thing. Yeah. About like wearing the Johnny Cash thing of just like wearing black. Are you going to a funeral? Maybe kind of shit. Like yours. He is, yeah. He's, But like, it is kind of just like a shitty kind of. It's very boomer. Like a word that his like Nick has just kind of put into my brain recently. But it is kind of like that American conception of like what it means to be a tough older guy, which is to like, I don't know, just steadfast to your beliefs, steadfast to like the shit you say should not be like you should not ever be rescinded, or like you should never back away from any of these kind of things. There's like a gruffness, grittiness kind of paternal aspect. Borisov is like, I don't know, it kind of seems like Borisov is like someone who's going to threaten to hit you, but this is the guy who's going to threaten to hit Borisov. Kind of thing, like the good bully. I don't know how to describe it exactly, but he doesn't seem too different, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. At the end of the day, I guess it was his big moment to be all right. Here's the sweeping reform, the big change is coming, and then his proposed, even though he couldn't form a coalition, his proposed cabinet was, seemed like basically more of the same.
Yeah. I mean, if he goes through his weird, well, actually no, a lot of his stuff just seems like consolidation of power. It seems kind of shit. I kind of hate it. If he does like the wacky direct democracy stuff, like the 5-star movement direct democracy stuff, that would be fun or whatever. But like, we could actually see a country that actually has like a storied tradition of being a competitor to Silicon Valley do some weird tech corruption shit. That could be fun.
I mean, at the end of the day, the protests were definitely a social movement that also had elements that went beyond anti-corruption, but didn't. There's not. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of political language right now, or accepted whatever Overton window kind of perspective to put that into action or get that across. And the longer, but like as I alluded to earlier, if that's the only option, like social protest or social pressure to change things, like a logjam of like all these parties being unable to form a coalition, like this like tug of war between the establishment and the protest parties, that might be a good thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
What will real change look like? There's no party that's proposing that. So.
No, and this is. I think I have a quote from the Sidecar article that I actually kind of want to leave off with, because it summarizes, I think, the situation quite well. Because like the big telltale sign of like Trifonov being more of the same was his initial prime minister appointment, who was this austerity hawk, effectively, in the form of Vasilev.
You blew Vasilev,
yeah.
You were the chosen one.
Yeah,
because you made funny, cool faces when you sang.
But yeah, the quote is: although Trifonov has since withdrawn Vasilev's nomination after public backlash, the pair's proximity underscores what many voters knew already, that the leftovers have merely been reheated rather than scraped off the plate. And I thought that was pretty succinct. We're just getting like GERB, which is BSP. We're just getting that like, I don't know, slapped in the microwave for like far too little time and put back on the fucking plate and pretending it's a new dish.
Yeah,
I like that metaphor.
There you have it.
Yeah.
I guess that's it for us this week, right? Anything to plug?
No. This will be coming out Monday, so join us on Wednesday, the 18th of August, for Kieran's birthday stream.
Yeah. Have we confirmed you're going to be alone for that?
I think I might be alone.
Dude, then go. Just do it. Just do the video game. Play the game.
For
like
I was
5 hours.
I was either 5 hours playing. I can get that game.
I land at like 10 your time. So if you're still playing, I'll hop on the call.
Like late. Skype from your phone.
Yeah. My roaming data.
Yeah, don't do that. That sounds like a bad idea. No, I might be joined by like old hats at the show, like Matthew and Josie. But like, I don't know. I'll either like do the pit, or I'll do like live researching Volt shit. I'm just
You should do that anyway, dude. Everyone would tune in if you just did a crowdsourced Volt
what the fuck's going on with these
research
guys?
public trial.
Yeah. Just like Googling all the people who they've like had donate to them, scraping Twitter for mentions of Volt and seeing what's going on. Yeah, stuff like that.
That'll be Fridays, starting at 8 p.m. from now on. A weekly Volt.
Like, the Volt screen.
What's a catchy name for it? The Volt.
The Volt View.
Volt.
The View on Volt. The View on Volt.
Or like you want to like fry their circuits, something like that. I don't know.
Friday their circuit. Is that what you're going? Is that what you're going for?
Friday, I'm in Volt.
Okay, and on that tickled me way too fucking much. I don't know. I just heard the song being sung as you said it. And with that, we will catch you guys either on Wednesday, Friday, or next Monday, depending on when you tune in.
Or late in a few months with the next round of elections in Bulgaria.
Yeah, right.
There's still time for the skull to jump in.
we can make it happen. If this trend continues.
Yeah.
The 1% jump. Yeah. All right. Ciao, everybody.
7-8 Dyson Криско Битс.
Както те обичам, ще те открадна. Ако ми попречат, ще ги убия. Дяволите плачат, че те нямат. Питат ме за теб, сърцето ми те крия.
За тебе ставам звяр отма, хапя като кобра. И на себе си не мога да помогна. Само аз мога да те правя и доволна. И бясна, и после да те кротна. Беше непознато, беше десперато. На леглото ми гърмя като граната. Ти дойде и се вилня като торнадо. Беше микс между пого и балада. Не си способна да седиш самотна. Моята роля беше да те правя мокра. Да не си отровна, не мога да ти смогна. Вкусотия, дето искам да я бодна. Не питай защо, само здраво се дръж. Меч ще ми носиш, когато сваля те веднъж. Тайсън.
Както те обичам, ще те открадна. Ако ми попречат, ще ги убия. Дяволите плачат, че те нямат. Питат ме за теб, сърцето ми те крия.
Ляв, песен, гледай как се прави. Джон, гледай как се прави. Не дей пипа звяра, че превърта.
Само да те видя ще изкърта.
Времето е златно и няма на обратно.